Algebra 2 Honors, Lesson 5.8, the Quadratic Formula. Here are the lesson's objectives. Alright, first of all, here's the quadratic formula. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. The most important thing when using the quadratic formula, first of all, you use the quadratic formula when you're trying to solve a quadratic. Alright, so only use it when you're asked to solve. Second, you have to make sure that the quadratic, alright, is equal to 0. Okay, so you have to make sure it equals 0 first. Okay, so a, b, and c are on one side together, alright, and the quadratic equals 0. Okay, and for the most part, usually I try and keep a positive, alright, but it can be negative. But for the most time, I try and keep it positive. Alright, so let's take a look at this example right here. Alright, use the quadratic formula to solve this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make the problem equal 0. So I put minus 2 here, minus 2. So now I'll get 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 is equal to 0. Once the problem equals 0, what I like to do is find the values of a, b, and c. So I know a is equal to 3, b equals negative 5, and c is equal to negative 2. Alright, so now set up the equation, the quadratic formula, plug in the numbers for a, b, and c. So it's negative, and then whatever b is negative 5, plus or minus the square root of whatever b is, negative 5 squared minus 4 times a is 3, c is negative 2. All over 2 times a, which is 3. Alright, and basically just simplify the problem. So negative negative give you positive 5, plus or minus. Alright, negative 5 squared, so this is going to give me positive 25. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, times negative 2 will give you positive 24. Alright, so the square root of 49, over 2 times 3 is 6. So let's continue to simplify this. So we're going to get 5 plus or minus 7, because the square root of 49 is 7, over 6. And now if these two up here are like terms, what you have to do is you have to split them up into two separate solutions. So x is going to equal 5 plus 7 over 6, and we'll continue simplifying this. And the second one, x is going to equal 5 minus 7 over 6. Alright, that's what the plus and minus means. That means that this can be separated into two separate parts that will give you two separate solutions. So this is going to give us 12 over 6, which equals 2. So that's one answer. And the other one is going to be negative 2 over 6, which reduces to negative 1/3. Alright, so these are our solutions right here. Okay? Alright, so let's solve this using the quadratic formula. Okay. So we've got to make the problem equal 0, so I'm going to add 6x, add 7, add 6x on the other side, and add 7. So this is going to cancel. So I'm going to get 2x squared plus 6x plus 7, and it's going to equal 0. Let's find the values of a, b, and c. So we know this is a, right here this is b, and this is c. Let's set everything up. X is going to equal negative, whatever b is, positive 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that'll be 6 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, and c, which is 7, all over 2 times a, which is 2. Let's simplify everything. 6 squared gives you 36. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, times 7, so that gives us negative 56. Okay. So let's simplify everything. So x is going to equal negative 6 plus or minus. Up here, we're going to get the square root of negative 20. Right? Now, if it's negative 20, we know we're going to have an I. Right? Because we have a negative inside here, we're going to have an I involved. And let's break down square root 20. That's going to be 4 times 5. So we're going to get 2i radical 5. So plus or minus 2i radical 5 over 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay. Now up here, even though these aren't like terms, we're not done simplifying this, because you have to notice you can factor out a 2 to reduce with the bottom number. Alright, so the correct way to do it, alright, is to factor out a 2. Alright, so 2 times what gives us a negative 6? Negative 3. Then you have the plus and minus. If you take out a 2 from here, alright, 2 times what will give us this? Well, that'll be I radical 5 all over 4. Then you reduce the 2 and the 4. So that eliminates, becomes a 1. This will become a 2. Alright, so our answer would be, alright, x is going to equal, alright, negative 3 plus or minus I radical 5, right, over 2. So this will be our final answer. Okay. Alright, and then the next thing we need to talk about is the discriminant. Alright. Now the discriminant, alright, is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, no square root, only b squared minus 4ac. Alright. What the discriminant tells you is how many solutions you will have, and alright, what kind. Alright, it doesn't tell you what the solutions are, alright, the actual values of the solutions. It tells you how many solutions a quadratic will have and what types of solutions. Okay. Now, if the discriminant, alright, b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, you have 2 real solutions. If b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, you will have 2 imaginary solutions. And if b squared minus 4ac is equal, right, to 0, you have 1, right, real solution. Okay? So let's do some examples. So determine the type and number of solutions. So we're not solving, we're not finding out what the solutions are, we're finding out what kind of solutions and how many solutions we'll have. So we're going to use the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. Well, the problem equals 0. That's the first thing you have to make sure. Alright, it equals 0 already. Alright, so here's a, this is b, and that's c. So just plug them in and simplify, evaluate. So we're going to get 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 8. That'll be 36 minus 32. So that gives us positive 4. If our answer is positive 4, alright, that means it's greater than 0, meaning we're going to have 2 real solutions. Okay? Let's do this example down here, right here. Alright, if we use the discriminant, we're going to get 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. So we get 36 minus 36, it equals 0. Alright, if the discriminant equals 0, we're going to have 1 real solution. Over here, if we do the discriminant, we'll get 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10. So we get 36 minus 40, So that gives us -4. If it's negative, that means it's less than 0. So we'll have 2 imaginary solutions. Okay?